Okay, we're going to disassemble the valve again, to pull the valve flow-through module off and set it aside. Then we're going to concentrate on the check stop strainer feature on this valve. The check stop strainer, of course, has the same O-ring connection that we use on all the joints on this valve, with the C-clip going in and holding it in place. The C-clip has to fit in that little groove you see down here. It's very important that it be in that groove so that the valve does not come apart. And usually it will snap right in there, and it just feels right when it gets in there. I'm going to take the top off of this valve assembly now so we can look at the inside of it. And hopefully you won't have to do very much of this, because one thing, we have a very large screen area for the strainer inside this valve body. And when the valves are first installed, it's very important to take this apart like this, because you will find this screen here, which is the strainer part of it, catches a lot of debris that is left from new construction, left in the water lines. It's best to start with a clean strainer. In this particular case, you can see it's pretty clean, but we haven't, this water source has been flowing for a long time, so there's very little debris in it. Now the internal part of this is the operating stem, and you will notice it has this one has a 5/16 hex on the top. You can operate it with a 5/16 nut driver. Most of your 4-in-1 screwdrivers have a 5/16 end that will operate this operating stem. It has a double O-ring seal at the top, so it shouldn't leak. You will notice that the seat is a solid seat, and it is spring loaded. Now it will let water come into the valve this way with pressure pushing against it, but once that water gets past this seat, if you have a pressure drop on the back side, this will close down and won't let water flow backwards through. This is important. It prevents cross flow between the hot and cold sides if you have a pressure differential there. So this is what they call a check unit, and it's a check stop stem unit. The bottom of this has a flow cylinder. The water comes up into the end, up through the middle, past your stem unit, and exits out through the O-ring port into the valve body. As I said, you can use, unless you're working on this particular check stop unit, you can use this stem to turn your water supply off so you can work on your pneumatic valve module. When you reassemble this, I always like to put the spring on this part here, or the screen on this part here, seat it down in there, and then slide it over that flow cylinder for assembly. That way you're not guessing that it's going to fit in there properly. And then you just put your little hex nuts on there and reassemble it. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, there is an O-ring seal in the top of this valve. It's this outer circle you see here, and you want that to be free of any debris or dirt or anything, because that is your seal, what seals your pressure inside this valve body. It fits down into a groove, and when you tighten the screws on this, it will compress that O-ring and seal against this flat surface on the top. This check stop unit has gone through a lot of A lot of changes over the years. And we believe we probably have the strongest and best check stop of all our competitors because of all the improvements that have been made to it. We have actually tested this thing where it held up to over 400 pounds of pressure without failure.